Товарищи, прекратите бессмысленное кровопролитие. Всякое сопротивление безболезненно. Немецкий солдат вам не враги. Сдавайтесь. Мы пришли навсегда изгнать большевистскую власть и закончить колхозное рабство. Бросайте напрасно сопротивление и сдавайтесь. Вам будет братья Витя и Пойду.
Hello everyone. Those of you who are curious about the deadliest, most famous battle in human history and who want to experience the most intense, most hardcore atmosphere that the game has to offer, this is the right campaign for you. This is my Christmas present for you, the full guide for Axis Stalingrad. Now when Stalingrad came out, it was quite a half-finished product. Now, 6 months later, after a bunch of patches, it became possibly the best campaign in the whole game. Now the reasons for that are, it has only good maps. The worst map I would rate medium, all the other maps I would rate either good to very to extremely good. So unlike for example Berlin, where half of the maps are horribly bad, this really offers you the best map pool in the whole game. Now the other reason is, it's very balanced. Very balanced means both sides are almost symmetrical in terms of what they have to offer. Now, usually, Soviet allies have very strong SMGs, also superior rifles and superior tanks, and are especially superior in the early levels. Here in Stalingrad, the Axis start off a little bit weaker, but then they catch up very effectively, and well, they even surpass the enemies, and one of the reasons are that you get basically captured PPsHs, which is the best weapon the Soviets have. And you even get, if you like it, MKBs in the late levels, and the MKBs in the late levels are equipable on assaulters and on engineers. So your engineers are basically undefeatable super soldiers with their assault rifles. Now this leads to the prejudice that this campaign is full power. Now, as you're gonna see in the videos that I'm gonna upload soon, you can play this campaign completely low level, only with bolt actions, and dominate enemies. In preparation for this video, I played the first 15 levels, so exactly 50% of the campaign, free to play without full access, and the rest I played with full access, and I can tell you, I even had more fun playing without full access, because the grind and being happy about every new weapon you unlock, every new weapon and strategy and grenade and vehicle counting and extracting all of the power you can get from every single step ahead was super fun. Also learning the maps and finding new rooms in every single map, also amazing. Yeah, this campaign is absolutely great. Now, I personally recommend getting the full access, but if you don't want to get it, don't worry, you can still get your hands on basically all the weapons in the campaign, because you can do the following trick. Once you unlock a weapon that's hidden behind the blue line, you won't be able to buy it in this campaign, and you won't get the squad for in this campaign. For example, here level 17, I won't get the squad, which is bad, because this fighter pilot is the best plane in the whole Axis Stalingrad campaign. But weapons like the machine gun 42, well, you won't get the squad, but you will get the weapon. And now here's the trick. If you have this weapon unlocked in another campaign, you can just transfer it from the other campaign to Stalingrad. Now this obviously costs quite a lot, but this is a way to, get all the weapons without the full access package. So use this trick. For example, I can go to, Normandy, take a look. Do I have MG42s? And I have them, so I can just buy them here, level them up completely, and after leveling them up, I don't have them here because I already transferred them to Stalingrad. After leveling them up, you can transfer them to Stalingrad and use them here. So yeah, this will cost quite a lot, but it's a very useful trick. So, another trick to know, which will make your life much easier, is which gold order weapons to get. Now, you can in Stalingrad get, I already got it, you can get the Gold Order MKB, which is depicted here. And this Gold Order MKB offers the advantage of, well, offers the advantage of being playable almost right from the beginning. Almost right from the beginning. Well, the disadvantage is you can only give it to an assaulter. You start the campaign, though, not with assaulters, but you start them with medics. And these medics can't use assault rifles. They can only use normal SMGs. This is a pain, yeah? But you can get around it by getting also the Gold Order soldier, who's also an assaulter, and then you just unlock the technology tree. For example, you start with a rifleman squad. Can they get assaulters? No, they can't. But level 3 you unlock the engineers, and here, well, the engineers can get assaulters. So what you do is, once you reach level 3, which is basically after 1 or 2 games, you just start leveling up the the engineer squad and unlock the technology for an assaulter, get the Gold Order assaulter, get the Gold Order weapon, and then you have one of the best soldiers possible in the whole campaign right at the beginning of your play. Now, if you ask yourselves, is it worth it spending the orders? Guess what? There are very few instances in the game where it's actually really worth it buying Gold Order soldiers, and this is one of the few cases. The other case is when you can't get engineers early, like in Tunisia, and you won't have engineers right from the start. This is exactly the trick. This is also the only reason to get Gold Order soldiers at all, because usually they're not that strong. Now, what you also want is, you want to possibly get 2 of these Gold Order MKBs. And how do you do that? Well, the same Gold Order weapon is buyable for Moscow. So what you can do is, whenever a weapon is buyable whenever a specific Gold Order weapon is buyable in 2 different campaigns, you can buy it in both campaigns, and then you transfer it from one campaign to the other. So this way you can get 2 of these in the same campaign right from the start. And this is exactly what I did, and this is going to help you a lot in your grind, especially in the early levels, because this thing is absolutely strong. Absolutely strong. And once you finish Stalingrad, you can just transfer it back to Moscow and level there. So yeah, this is absolutely worth it, and this is gonna make your grind much easier. So let's dive into the levels and into the general campaign strategies. Now let's get into the main part, and the main part are the campaign levels and the weapons and what I recommend using, what I recommend not using, and how to get the most fun and power out of all the equipment you're gonna get. Now you're gonna start very early with an exception. You won't start with an Assaulter 1 squad, you start with Medic squad. Now Medic squads are quite weak, but in the beginning they offer you the flexibility of being able to have basically 6 assaulters, because every soldier there can get an SMG. Now the starter SMG is weak, it only has 20 rounds, but it's okay, well, because it's an SMG, and at the beginning all you want is having bolt actions for mid and long range, and having SMGs for short range. Being able to also heal soldiers and drop healing boxes is nice, but eventually you want to play other squads, because overall the medics aren't that strong. Now, once you win your first 1, 2, 3 battles, you're gonna unlock the engineers, and this is literally, well, at the beginning of the campaign where everything changes. Now, they give you one of the best weapons. This is basically my late game weapon too. It's level 3, but I use it also at level 30. And they give you the engineer squad itself. Now, what does this mean? Very simple. The engineer squad is able to, well, in Stalingrad, build Ampulemots, and as usual build anti-air guns and anti-tank guns. Anti-tank guns, quite useful against weaker tanks, but against stronger tanks not that useful. Ampulemots though, very useful. Well, Ampulemots came newly with the Stalingrad campaign, and they are a pun, because Pulemot in Russian means machine gun. Ampulemot is basically a Molotov machine gun, and this is exactly what it does in the game. You build it with your engineer squad, and then you just start spamming. You spam it on infantry, you spam it on tanks, which usually is more effective than anti-tank guns, ironically. And you can even shoot long range with it, because as you can see here, you can use, well, you basically do one shot, and then you need to remember how high you aimed, or you just use the lines on the left side of the window, which are going to help you. And the next shot you can aim higher or lower, and this way you get basically perfect aim. Yeah, you can use it like a sniper rifle if you use some intelligence together with it, and then you have, especially on lower levels, one of the strongest weapon you can get. I was around level 10 in this clip, and obviously I didn't spend too much time bolting the enemies. Instead I just, well, molotov them with infinite molotovs, and not only do I get lots of kills, but I also slow them down immensely, and it also causes panic and stress among enemies, so you get an additional effect out of it, which is extremely strong. Now as you see, the engineer squad gives you lots of firepower, lots of flexibility. You can theoretically also shoot down planes, but most of the time it sadly doesn't work, because planes are too fast. So anti-air guns, more or less disappointing, especially after all the nerfs they got. Anti-tank guns, mediocre in Stalingrad, but Ampulemot's really strong, and once you unlock Engineer 2s, also machine gun nests quite nice and strong to have. Now regarding the weapons, well, the Mannlicher that you unlock is an extremely good weapon. The reason for that is the following. If you look at the normal standard rifle you have, it has ridiculous damage, obviously, especially with the upgrades where you have basically 100% killing chance at 200 meters, but it's very slow. It's very slow, and it has the standard 5-round magazine size. Now, if you get yourself the Mannlicher, and I recommend when you unlock it, just buy yourself 10 of them. They only cost 1 silver. Buying 10 of these is gonna give you the chance to equip every soldier that needs it, and you're gonna get the following, well, feature. This weapon is super fast. It's lightning fast. 76 shots is more than 1 shot per second. Now this thing is literally the difference between surviving engagements against whole squads or dying. When you have this, you can actually spray down groups of enemies and survive, and then reload and come back and kill the next squad. Now as you see, Mannlicher extremely reliable. Give it to every soldier, give it to the specialists like flamethrowers, radio men, engineers, and so on, and be happy about it. I wouldn't play anything else over it. Like, the Gewehr 41 isn't worth it, the damage is too low. Stalingrad has around 1/3 short range engagements, 1/3 long range engagements. This weapon is completely bad at long range and is mediocre at mid range. It's only good at short range. This weapon is good at every range. Yeah, in 80% of all situations, this is gonna be much better than this. In the very few situations where this is better, well, this is still good. So I wouldn't play Gewehr 41 over Mannlicher. I wouldn't play ZH over Mannlicher. And the only thing I would play over Mannlicher is the MKB on my engineers. Besides that, all of my soldiers who can use this weapon, even in the absolute late game after finishing the campaign, still have the Mannlicher weapon. Now, this is the biggest advantage. You get the engineers very early. Put an engineer into every single squad so you can build rally points every single objective with every single squad. This is the only soldier type you absolutely need in every squad. One engineer in every squad and you're gonna be very happy. For those who wonder which squad should I play, well, I recommend having one engineer squad in your army and one assaulter squad. And the rest is theoretically whatever you want. Now, if you want my complete recommendation, I would play one engineer squad, one assaulter squad, then one machine gunner squad, and then one flamer squad. And the last squad, well, one rifleman squad with grenade launchers is good if you see that the enemies are completely overwhelming and constantly rushing in large groups. Well, spraying them down with grenade launchers is the best thing to do. And if you have too many slots open, which would happen if you have full access, because you get 4 slots for free, well, it's always useful to have one random radioman squad that I don't even have currently, because I'm still leveling the other. Because being able to instantly after dying take the Radio Man squad and instantly do an artillery strike can also save you quite a lot of time. What you also can do is just play a bunch of plane squads so you can always stay in the air, though I don't personally like it. I'd rather play infantry. Also, I don't want to block the sky for players who like to play the planes. Regarding tanks, you can basically, well, you always want one tank to blow up enemy tanks, especially if enemies are bullying you with their flame tanks, which are easy to blow up. Even with the weakest tank you get, even a tank tree that you get quite early, which basically the starting tank, even the weakest tank that you can get right from the beginning will be able to blow up the enemy flame tanks. So yeah, having one tank is always useful. Now if you only have one vehicle squad, once you unlock the first plane, I recommend using that, because this first plane has 4 bombs. These bombs are the weakest bomb type there is, but it's still enough to blow up any enemy tanks. Even T-34s are gonna die when you drop 2 of these bombs on them. So this plane that you unlock at level 5, absolutely worth it. Also, it's actually really good because it has not only bombs, it also has cannons. You basically can't shoot down enemy bombers with your machine guns, but you can easily shoot down enemy bombers with your cannons. As you see, cannons are absolutely worth it, and having access to this squad at level 5 shows again Stalingrad is a really well designed campaign, even though it doesn't seem that superficially, especially for most people, because engineers at level 3, fighters at level 5, a very good fighter plane at level 5, absolutely great. You will be able to deal with everything the enemies are sending to you, no matter how high level they are. Now why don't I talk about this? Very simple. It's just super bad and useless. I literally didn't care at all about this weapon. You can try it out for fun, but guess what? Bolt actions are just much better in the game than shotguns, because shotguns literally have ridiculous, well, damage drop-off. There's literally no reason at all to play shotguns. They're just designed very badly in the game. And as an additional insult, drilling means triplet. Well, there's no triple shot because there's only 2 bullets. There's no third bullet in this thing. So yeah. This thing is useless, don't even think about it, it's not worth your attention. Now at level 6 you're gonna get the machine gun, the first machine gun. Now, if you have slots to level up, these are worth it because A, it's always fun to play machine guns, and B, you can use this basically as a semi-auto rifle. Machine guns are literally better than semi-auto rifles because they have basically the same damage, but they have much more ammunition and you can spray them. Yeah, so machine gun squads in the beginning, when you only have bolt actions or weak SMGs, give you a really strong power increase. And you can also, since the recent update, build heavy machine gun nests with your machine gunner squads once you unlock the technology. It's exactly this here. So yeah, absolutely worth it and recommendable to play them too. Now this Panzer tree, well, it doesn't matter that it's hidden because I literally didn't play it myself, it's not that strong. The cannon is okay, but it's basically made out of paper, relative to the Soviet tanks. So the power spike isn't that high with this tank, so it's not, you don't lose much out. Now at level 8 you get another fancy thing. You get the anti-tank gunners. Now the anti-tank gunners come with a GRB 39. In Moscow this is the last weapon you upgrade very late. Here in Stalingrad you get it very early, and well, the trick with the GRB is the following. Now the GRB in theory is quite a potent weapon. Problem in Stalingrad is, most of the enemy tanks you're gonna see are T-34 variations. They have very thick armor and it's also sloped, so you basically can't penetrate it. Yeah, there's only 2 weak spots that they have, and very rarely you're gonna 1 or 2 shot them. Now what you want to do instead is the following. You want to use your GRB to immobilize the strong tanks, because T-34s only have 4 crew members, so once you kill 1 or 2 of them, they won't be able to shoot, aim or move at the same time. This gives you a perfect chance, also a safe way, to get close to it and throw a TNT under the tank and blow it up. The GRB can be very useful, and I recommend having among all of your squads one soldier with a GRB, maybe two if you have enough squads. Usually I would play snipers over the anti-tank gunners, because snipers are always useful and sometimes they are absolutely crucial, but the GRBs aren't that useful. But when you need one, well, if the enemy tank is weak enough, or if you're absolutely desperate to blow up a tank, even if it won't work surely, it's really good. Now, of course, you also get the TNT packs, which I also recommend using, but GRBs, especially in combination with TNT packs, very strong, as you could see. Now, regarding blowing up tanks in general, you have lots of tools in this campaign. You get the normal Molotovs that can burn out the engine of a tank, or just make it too hot for the crew, so they either leave the tank or they die. Most of the time both, because most players leave their tanks only when when they start burning inside. But obviously it doesn't help if you leave the tank then. So this works wonders. Now, how do you use the TnT charge? Very simple. What about TnT charges? Well, they also came with the Stalingrad campaign, and contrary to other grenades, you don't have them in the grenade slot, you have them in the mine slot. And you don't throw them, you plant them, and afterwards you click to blow them up. So it's two-stepped, which has the disadvantage of costing more time, but theoretically it also it gives you a speed advantage, because where you would need to cook a TNT and throw it and wait for 6 seconds, this thing you can theoretically, right after you plant it, instantly explode. So the strategy with them is the following: you go to a tank. When you're sure you have enough time, or when you want to do it perfectly for a video, you just plant it, run away, look at the tank and blow it up. Or in most cases what I recommend is, and this is much better in 95% of all situations, you plant it and instantly explode it right here, while you're still on the tank. This way you make sure it explodes and you don't lose the tank kill only because you got killed, in the process. Now, another thing you can do is, let's say you get killed, well, in that case you can still shoot the charge on top of the tank. Or you can use another soldier and throw any grenade, and this grenade is going to trigger the TnT charge. Or you just write in the chat that there's a TnT charge on the tank and people will come to it and blow it up. Don't worry, the game makes sure it's highlighted with a wide surrounding rectangle, so it's not hard to lose it. You will actually see it from far away. Now, the thing with grenades in Stalingrad is the following: you absolutely need to use them. Absolutely need to use them, especially on the lower levels, because before you get the grenade launchers, you are completely overpowered by the Soviet firepower, especially high-level players. And grenades, you can use them right from the start. This basic fragmentation grenade, whenever you see a huge group of enemies, just start cooking it and throw it, and there's nothing they can do. Like the explosion radius is really high, the damage is ridiculously high, and there are lots of either closed rooms where you can completely demolish everyone, or like open areas where the fragmentation radius is going to be huge. And even if they stand quite apart, as you can see here, like 15 meters from left to right, they're still all gonna die, So there's no chance we could have solved this situation, especially not with my trusty Mannlicher rifle. But throwing a single grenade completely turns the tide of the battle. You see here, they have like an 80% dominance, and now, well, we have like a 65% dominance. So very simple, this is how you win fights against superior firepower, 4 grenades, and you can win the battle. So the enemy tanks may be very strong, but you also have plenty of tools to fight against these enemy tanks. Now, back to the campaign progression. We see after the anti-tank gunner at level 9, we get the radio operator. Now, if you compare these early levels with other campaigns, they are completely stacked. They are completely stacked with one really high impact unlock after the other. And this shows how viable this campaign is without full access. You literally don't miss out on anything important, and you get lots of power with every normal level. Now, radio operators obviously give you access to the artillery strikes. You only need one radio operator in every squad. If you use the radio operator squad itself, you can call either artillery strikes very often, or you can call the great artillery strikes, which call bombers, and then you wait for like 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then they start bombing a huge area. Now, I personally don't use slots for radio squads because if I'm low on slots, they're not worth it, especially after the recent nerfs to the bombing runs. But if you like them, or if you like playing snipers, you can use a radio squad because you can always put a sniper in a radio squad and then sit in the background and snipe, and well, and while you're waiting to call another artillery strike. You get the Gewehr 41 too, though as I already said, it's not that strong. So I personally recommend not using it, unless of course you like semi-autos, then it's worth it. The sound is also cool, but the weapon itself doesn't have that much power. Now, level 10, you get a Stuka variant, and this Stuka variant is actually really good. It has 3 good bombs. These bombs mean that you don't have to aim too well, because even the random bomb that drops too much left, too much right is still gonna kill everyone. And it has machine guns. Now, I wouldn't use this over the previous fighter plane, even for bombing purposes. Why? Very simple. This thing can't shoot down enemy bombers because it has only 2 machine guns in the front and 2 machine guns here on the back. So you basically will never shoot down reliably bomber planes or enemy planes. The bombing capacity is extremely good, that's true, but once you can aim well enough with your bombs, the weaker fighter with his 4 little bombs is enough. And this 20mm cannon is this crucial difference between which plane you should use. So my recommendation, use this plane if you want to have a vehicle that can do everything and it can save your behind out of very dangerous situations. Though, for style reasons, playing a Stuka is always cool, so playing this is never wrong, yeah? Now, at level 11, you're gonna get the MG34. It's the first machine gun that's actually usable like a machine gun in terms of being able to spray down enemies. 50 rounds means you can actually spray, you don't have to be stingy with every bullet, because missing 2 bullets means possibly you won't have enough bullets left. 50 rounds, make sure you have enough bullets left when you use your brain with this weapon. And the fire rate is great, the damage is the standard high machine gun damage, and the recoil is quite okay. So on short range, fire bursts are amazingly effective. On mid-range, shooting 1 bullet or little fire bursts into a group of enemies is also good. And on long range, just shooting 1 bullet at a time, also effective. Now, this machine gun, especially so early at level 11, means that you can actually start getting ahead in terms of the Soviets. They still have their, well, better SMGs, but guess what? You have your better machine gun. So this is not only historically a cool reflection, but also in terms of increasing your fire level, your power level in your squads, very welcome. Now then you get the Mortarman squad. Once again, you don't miss out on much. Mortarmen aren't really that worth it. Now ironically enough, 75% around of all objectives in the campaign are open, but they're also very huge, very large, and you won't hit much with these Mortarmen, so I never even bothered trying them out. They're not really worth it, and with the fact that this useless squad is hidden behind the paywall, once again, very good decision, so free-to-play players don't lose out on anything. Now level 13 gives you another huge power spike. The Panzer 4F2. Now what is so good about it? Very simple. This Panzer is the reason Moscow became the most balanced campaign, because this thing actually can hold its own, at least partially, against the Soviet superiority in terms of tanks. This thing has okay armament, relative to the German medium tanks it has quite a good armament. And it has a really good cannon. This is the best cannon you're basically gonna get in the campaign for the German tanks. at least for the normal ones. And it has okay high explosives, a good anti-tank capabilities, and also machine guns. So you can. This is an all-round tank, and it's gonna completely destroy the enemy fire tanks. It's gonna destroy enemy weak tanks, and if you know where to aim, it's even gonna one-shot enemy T-34s. So this tank is really good. I wouldn't bother using the first tank, but using this tank is actually definitely worth it. I was very happy once I unlocked it, and I started using tanks constantly. Now level 14 gives you the Rifleman 2 with the grenade launcher. This is where you're gonna feel the whole game changes, because right up to this point, if you play against high level enemies, they're gonna completely overwhelm you with their PPsH spam. They're gonna completely overwhelm you with their anything spam. With their huge numbers, with their superior spawn pressure. They have 3 ready points, you have only 1, and you basically play 1 versus 3 constantly on your objectives. All of this changes once you get the grenade launcher, because guess what? You can start completely demolishing huge groups of enemies. Grenade launchers, absolutely worth it. Once you unlock the squad, really buy like 20 of them and give all of your Riflemen 1, which should have dual wielding unlock. Give all of them 2 grenade launchers, so you can have 5+1 bullets and just start spraying down enemy groups. This is absolutely necessary to defeat higher leveled enemies. Yeah, absolutely necessary. And for those people who think this is ahistorical or unfair, well, it's not ahistorical, because in real life, before every battle, you spammed artillery, and as a normal soldier, once you got close to the enemy, you spammed grenades or grenade launchers. And only then you started engaging, because running into an open firefight without having spammed grenades beforehand is just a waste of lives. So, or just a useless risk for your own soldiers. So in real life, people always spam explosives. Same thing here. In terms of, is it fair? Well, as a low level, and level 14 is low to mid level, you need some way to defeat level 30 Sweatlord enemy armies. And this is exactly the weapon that makes it possible, so you can feel great, rightfully so, using this against very sweaty enemies. Now at level 15 you unlock the ZH. If you like and want to play semi-autos, this is the perfect semi-auto for you. Much better than the Gewehr 41. But if you don't like it, just keep the Mannlicher, because I personally prefer Mannlicher over this. A, it's more fun, and and B, well, it's actually stronger overall in this campaign due to the distance engagements. It's already explained. Now level 16 gives you the first assaulters. Well, why first? Very simple. Assaulter 1 doesn't exist in the campaign. There's only medic 1. So this is a strange thing, actually the first strange thing in the campaign, because it's an MP40 that is unlocked at level 16. This is very late. But the power level is definitely there. If you play with full axes, just get yourself a couple of them, and once you get the better SMGs later, give these to the tankers. If you play normal axes, well, you better get lots of them, because this is the best weapon, or like the most well-rounded weapon you can get up to this point, because MP40, absolutely worth it, absolutely not only iconic, but also strong. The fire rate is, well, it's nerfed in Stalingrad, but the damage is good, especially with 5 stars. The magazine size is okay, and the precision is very good. The precision is better than the numbers show. So yeah, this weapon won't disappoint you. Just use it, and it's definitely better than the beginner SMG. Now, once you get, well, the next level, this is the only level, I would say, which is really a big advantage over free-to-play players. This plane is the plane I'm gonna use for basically the end of the campaign. I'm still using it. Now the reason for that is the following. This plane gives you access to good bombs. You have 1 medium bomb. Well, this is actually a heavy bomb, because there are no heavier bombs in the campaign for you. And you have 2 little bombs. This means you can kill large amounts of infantry, and you can kill tanks very reliably. Also, you get, well, you get 2 cannons. Yeah, you get 2 cannons and 2 machine guns. So you also can shoot down enemy bombers. This is a perfect package. This is basically the first beginner plane, but with better bombs. And this is literally all you need to know. This plane is like a strict upgrade over the beginner fighter, and it's really, really worth it. The fact that it's Romanian is even funnier because it's one of the auxiliary troops, and you will never be disappointed. Just use it and you're gonna have an all-round weapon for every situation. Now, if you don't have it due to the full access issue, well, guess what? Just use the earlier plane that you have from the beginning. It does basically the same thing, but the bombs are a bit weaker. But this doesn't change too much, so yeah. Now, the Sniper 2. Well, what about Sniper 2s? I personally use snipers the following way. Now, there's a big trap you want to avoid, and it's the way how people play their snipers, especially in Stalingrad. Now, what they do is they give their snipers a ammo pouch, a sniper rifle, then they sit in the corner for 30 minutes, get 20 kills, and then they cry and complain that they lost their 10th game in a row. Now, how do you avoid this nonsense? Very simple. Use your sniper as a universal soldier, as an elite soldier, as snipers were back then, especially the German snipers, since German snipers actually didn't exist. They were, well, they came to be around the year 42. Before that, there wasn't a denomination of sniper soldiers. Now, what you want is the following. Look at the right side of the screen. You see I have a sniper rifle, then I have a normal standard rifle as a secondary weapon. I have a pistol because you're gonna get them for free anyway. I basically never use it, but it's good to have it in case. Then give them an X once you unlock it. This makes your soldiers, your snipers, very mobile and fast, and give them a TnT charge to blow up tanks, and give them a normal fragmentation grenade to kill huge amounts of enemies. Now, the strategy with snipers is the following. They are perfect for scouting around the map, in the open street maps, or also in the tractor factory map, where you see lots of, thin openings, where you have doors, where you have these areas in the, and on the roof. It's very hard to spot enemies there, unless you have a scope. And then you do the following. When you have enemies at mid to short range, just bowl them away. Much easier to aim than with a scope, obviously. Then, when you see a group of enemies, just grenade them away. And right after the explosion, very often, it's hard to see anything. You see, this dude doesn't really see me, but I see him because I have a scope, and then you just scope them away. And when you also see, alright, you're running low on ammo, you can either start reloading, or you switch to your next weapon, because the next weapon is going to have some rounds, which is faster than reloading. Also, when you see enemies close range, just whip out your X and start Xing them. And by this way, you can see I perfectly used all of my weapons. I used the bolt action, I used the sniper, I used the grenade, I used the X, and I got like 9 kills. And most of them were on mid to short range. And this is how you want to use your snipers. Use them, use the range advantage they have, but don't be afraid to go short range, even melee range, and just completely devastate your enemies. Now, with these Sniper 2 squad, as in basically every campaign, it's not really worth using it. You can just save your time. You can save your time. The reason for that is the soldiers themselves don't give you much of an advantage. The weapon itself isn't much of an upgrade over the previous sniper weapon, and you're gonna get the Sniper 3 anyway very soon. So what I do literally in every campaign is I never use the Sniper 2 squad. I just wait until I get the next squad. Now, or until I get the next sniper squad. Now, regarding Machine Gunner 2 at level 19, this is a fancy one. The reason for that is the following. MG42 is a really good upgrade over MG34. Reason for that is it's faster, but more importantly, it's much more precise. And for those who use it, the sound is really satisfying and amazing. So MG42, one of the most fun machine guns in the game to use. And the Machine Gunner 2 can get perfect yellow perks. Perfect yellow perks means a normal machine gunner can either get the 14 or the 16 one, or he can get 10 plus 8, but he can't get a very strong combination of yellow perks. Machine Gunner 2 with perfect rolls can get 22 yellow, and 22 yellow means he can get the fast reload and the vertical reduction. And this makes your machine gunners basically very fast, very precise, and well, even after you switched from one weapon to the other, after you had your 100 bullets of machine gunning, you can just reload the machine guns quickly thanks to the additional reload speed. So yeah, these are really worth it. If you have them open, use them, upgrade them, play them, absolutely great, and a really good upgrade over machine gunner ones. Now Flametroopers, as usual, come very late. And also as usual, don't disappoint, because, well, Stalingrad doesn't have that much open fields, open areas, but Stalingrad has certain engagements where you absolutely want to either destroy groups of enemies, close range, or where you want to block doorways or entrances, or streets, street parts. And this is where Flametroopers completely outshine anything else. So yeah, the verdict is clear. Flametroopers absolutely worth it. If you have the slots open, use them. They're really, really nice. Really, really nice to play. And also the tankiest soldier class of them all, since they can get, well, since they can get easily to high vitality numbers and get, well, the vitality perk always. Sadly, you don't get Flametrooper 2, which get intrinsic vitality, but even Flametrooper 1, very strong class on its own. Now level 21 you get the Kirali. Kirali is a significant upgrade over MP40. It's a much better weapon. Though with full access I would wait until I get, if you're low on orders, just wait until you get the MKBs. If you're not low on orders though, buy yourself some, use them. The Kirali is really strong. And then afterwards just give it to your tankers or whatever. I personally gave it to my pilots because it's cool if they have the Kirali to use. Now, by the way, your pilots in general should have an SMG and a grenade, and if you have the order to spare, an X. So once you leave your plane, especially after a successful bombing run, just pull yourself up, jump out of the plane, and, well, land safely with your parachute, and then go back to the front fighting. Not only gives it you another angle of attack, because you basically are a paratrooper who can drop behind enemy lines and surprise enemies, search for rally points, or just get into the objective sneakily. Not only that, but you also can level up very quickly with it. When I was still a bad pilot, I got more experience using my pilots as infantry than as actual pilots. So yeah, this is a very good, useful, helpful trick. Now at level 22 you get the Potez. Now what's the Potez? Very simple. It's not that much of a good plane because it has two good bombs, yeah, but doesn't have a cannon. It doesn't have a cannon and only has one machine gun in the front, so yes. This thing isn't really worth it. Like, once again, I would still play the level 5 beginner plane over this thing. Now this though is really good. This is a very thick boy. Reason for that is this 80. These 80 centimeters of steel that you see here are very worth it. They are very worth it, and they mean that especially inexperienced T-34 players can't bully you around, because they will shoot you but they won't penetrate. So yeah, this thing is really worth it. It even has a little bit of slopeness, though hitting it from here actually is worse. but this is something German engineers, it took some time for them to understand and accept that sloped armor is the way to go. Yes, ironically, it took them a long time to understand, but this tank is the go-to tank for me. It's definitely the best tank you can play as a German soldier in Stalingrad. Really strong, good cannon, reliable, good armament, and also fast enough. Now, level 24 is where you have your next big power spike. The reason for that, very simple. You get basically the German PPsH. German PPsH means you literally have a weaker version of the Soviet PPsH. Besides that, it's like the same thing. It's basically a captured early version of the PPsH. Now, what does this thing give you? Very simple. This is much better than a Kirali. There's a strong argument to be made for the statement that the PPsH is the best weapon in the game due to the fact that it's very easy to use. Now, literally everyone can just spray down enemies. Literally everyone. There are weapons who are in theory stronger, but when you take into account logistics and readiness to use, PPsH just beats them all. So having access to that is amazing. Having access to assaulter trees is also amazing, because not only do they have great perks, they also have a really good starting perk. 100 health restored with your medpack is really good. Really good. It actually makes a difference between being able to take another hit after you revived or being instantly dead after something small happens. So yeah, this is worth it. And the PPsH also a big upgrade over the MP717. Big upgrade over the Kirali. Now, what you want to do is, up to this point, you basically want to, well, get all of your assaulters this weapon, and once you unlock the last assaulter weapon, which is a little bit hidden because it's not visible among the assaulter weapons, it's here, it's the MKB. It is an assaulter weapon because it has the assaulter icon, so only assaulter class soldiers can use it. And engineers, as is specific for Stalingrad. Now once you unlock the MKB, do the following. Give your assaulters an MK, this is my recommendation, give them an MKB as the first weapon and an MP717 as the second. This way you have your MKB for long and mid-range and your German PPsH for short-range engagements. Also this way you have fun with both types of weapons and you won't have to reload, you have a very quick second weapon in the middle of a fight. So yeah, this is like the perfect combination which gives you all advantages without a single disadvantage. Now, alternatively, you can also just play this version or the MKB with a ammo grenade pouch, though I would always prefer having access to two weapons, two of the best weapons in the whole game, over a random ammo pouch or a random grenade pouch. Now, engineers, well, 25. At level 25 you get behind the paywall the Engineer 2 squad. This is the only really big squad you miss out because, well, you want basically Engineer 2 squads for the additional machine gun nest that you can build. Even after the heavy machine gun nest edition, as you see, machine gun nest still absolutely great, absolutely needed, especially in the open and wide maps in Stalingrad. As I already said, Stalingrad is a mix of short range and open range, and the machine gun nests are really useful, especially for clearing out random windows. Now, the fact that your engineers can get assault rifles, literal assault rifles, makes Stalingrad Axis the strongest faction in the whole game. Because A, your assaulters are complete monsters with two of the best weapons available to assaulters in the whole game, and even your engineers are complete monsters because your engineer squad can basically be a 6-man assaulter squad if you want. And this 6-man assaulter squad with 6 engineers would even be stronger than most assaulter squads in the whole game. So yeah, your engineers don't have to be afraid. This means you can send your engineers safely anywhere on the map and expect them to successfully build a rally point because they don't have to be afraid of any enemies engaging them. Is it one enemy? Just shoot them. Is it an enemy sniper? Just spray into him, he's gonna die. Is it a group of enemies? Well, you got 30 rounds, you can still kill everyone. So yeah, MKBs on your engineers, absolutely amazing, absolutely strong. For those who think this is unfair, well, let's take a look. What do the Soviets get? Well, they get... Oh, they basically get like a Soviet FG version, like Soviet FG2, obviously weaker than an FG42 because the recoil is ridiculous, but it has 15 rounds, it has high damage, and it has full auto and semi-auto. You can use it as semi-auto rifle as a much better semi-auto rifle than the Germans get, or you can use it at full auto at short range. And full auto short range, it's much better than an MKB because the damage is 50% higher. So yeah, the Soviets, well, the Germans need the MKB because otherwise the Soviets would be ridiculously ahead of them anywhere. So yeah, you absolutely deserve the MKB as an Axis player in Stalingrad, and you can be happy to have it. Absolutely happy to have it. Now don't be too shy to use these stationary Maxim machine guns. You're gonna find them on almost every map, on lots of places. Not only as a defender, but also as an attacker, especially after you captured an objective. And their shield gives you protection, but also limited visibility. So my advice is, once you find one, start spraying into enemies. Preferably search for enemies before you mount it, because, well, it's gonna be hard to find enemies. But once you found an enemy, keep spraying. Don't stop, because due to the visibility and due to the slow fire rate, it's very easy to miss enemies. But once you just start spraying, well, you're gonna get everyone. Now, either you find a squad and you just kill the whole squad or large parts of it, or worst case scenario, you're wasting a couple of seconds of shooting and kill only one dude, which is also okay. So my recommendation, just always spray it until you hit 95% of overheating and then just leave it. This way you maximize your chance of killing lots of enemies, and also you still have the flexibility of, well, being able to use it once you find a new enemy after leaving it and looking around. Now, as you can see, the sniper MKB turns your snipers into complete destruction machines. You don't need to think strategically anymore. Once you get this weapon, you can just rush in and destroy anyone and everything in front of you. Now, what I recommend here is the following. Since you saved a lot of time of upgrading Sniper 2 squads that you didn't upgrade, now you have enough time to upgrade this squad. And you want to upgrade your soldiers perfectly, because Sniper MKB has very high vertical recoil. What you want is, you want to have the weapon at 6 stars. You want to have your Sniper trees at 5 stars at the maximum. And then you just give them fast reload and fast and vertical recoil reduction. So you get the 14 plus 8 perks. And then your Sniper MKB will become a very precise weapon, and you can start spraying at it. Spraying it short and mid-range will be very precise, and even on long range with the scope, it's still gonna have enough precision to spray down whole squads. So yeah, absolutely worth it. I recommend putting it into an assaulter squad, into a rifleman squad, and even into a machine gunner squad, because as you can see, machine gunners, well, they either take an anti-tank gunner or a sniper. Since machine guns themselves are only good short and mid-range, having the sniper is really good. And you don't miss out on much when you omit the random anti-tank gunner. Now, as you saw, the levels 24 to 25 to 26 were ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You get a PPsH, you get a MKB, and you get a sniper MKB consecutively. Now, what can top all of this? Well, at level 27, you get the anti-tank grenade launcher. I have to say, this weapon is, ironically, in Stalingrad much weaker than in Normandy. In Normandy, it's effective against half of the enemy tanks. The weak beginner tanks get completely destroyed by it. 2 or 3 shots and the tank explodes, sometimes even 1 shot. Against the stronger tanks, you need to specifically know where to shoot, but it's still strong. In Stalingrad, it's only good against the flame tanks. Anything else, it will rarely do much, but it's still a grenade launcher, and it still does the same damage against infantry, so there's literally no downside in using this over the normal grenade launcher. So this is a strict upgrade. It costs a bit more, but that's okay. You absolutely want to have these. What I do is I just buy all of them and just sell all of the normal grenade launchers, and this way you have your army perfectly upgraded. Also, leveling up the Rifleman Tree Squad, absolutely recommended, because there are some, even if you don't play the Rifleman Squad itself, there are some squads here where you always will have Riflemen. The Machine Gunner Squad will have in the end 1 normal Rifleman, and the Flamer Squad is going to have 2 Riflemen. So you absolutely want to have some really strong Riflemen, and the Rifleman tree are really worth it. Now, they start with quite a weak intrinsic perk, but the fact that they get up to 19, 19, 19, as you can see here, they get 19, 19, 19. Now, this means you can give them all of the good perks. You can give them 16 sprint speed, 16 vitality, and give them 10 plus 8 yellow. This leaves you with 1 random perk. I recommend giving weapon changing speed, so you can quickly change between both grenade launchers. And the end effect is a very tanky soldier that's extremely deadly against groups of enemies. Having lots of vitality also means you can actually survive. You can actually survive some PPsH hits and just return the fire with your grenade launcher. So yeah, these dudes are really worth it. And I also recommend, if you have the slots, having a Rifleman squad in your army, because these squads are really strong. Not only do they get, well, the typical engineer slot, they also get a sniper slot for long range engagements. And this is the perfect squad to put in your anti-tank gunner. And this means you have long range capabilities, you have anti-tank capabilities, and you have 6 fighters. Now, 9 soldiers also means you can quickly capture objectives and you can defend objectives. This literally 9 soldiers on the objective is very often the difference between winning an objective and winning a game or losing it. Absolutely worth it, absolutely strong. Now, in the end, you're gonna unlock a Stug tree. I tried this thing and I have to say it's sadly, as iconic as it is, very disappointing because it's not that strong. The cannon simply isn't strong enough to use it over the Panzer 4G. The cannon is a bit stronger, but not that much stronger. Once again, mainly because the T-34s in this game are coded stronger than they were in real life. In real life, this would one-shot every T-34 you can imagine, and even this would one-shot every T-34. In-game, though, this is not a guarantee. And, well, if you can't one-shot every tank, why should you use a Stug that doesn't have a machine gun? And that doesn't even have a turret. Yes, that's right, you don't really have a real turret, meaning you can move this cannon only like a couple centimeters to the left and to the right. And your armament is ridiculous. Yeah, and the side armament is so weak, everything destroys this thing. So yeah, this is, well, in real life they were used from far away, because if you're far away, you can, well, from far away nothing is going to kill you. Because, well, even if a T-34 with his strong cannon shoots you from 1 kilometer distance, 50 millimeter of steel is enough to block the shot. Plus your profile is very low, so you won't even get penetrated most of the time. But in the game and in Stalingrad itself, in the streets of Stalingrad, this thing is really not that good. So you're not missing out on much if you don't use it. Level 29 gives you the final fighter pilot 3. Now this thing is really good if you want to shoot down enemy planes, because you just have 4 cannons. You have 4 cannons, and these cannons are gonna shred through everything. Though the disadvantage is they don't have bombs. So, well, with these cannons though, you can penetrate enemy tanks. So it depends on what you like. Do you want to use this, or do you want to use the very first plane, which has bombs and also cannons? Now, or do you want to use, well, depending on if you upgraded it, do you want to use this squad, which also has bombs and cannons? Now, if you're a pilot main, just use both. Like, use both, because this plane makes sure no bombing run will ever hit you, because you're gonna just kill all the 5 enemy bombers within 15 seconds. Yeah, these 4 cannons make sure you destroy everything, and you will even destroy most enemy tanks. So yeah, you won't get your huge infantry kills by dropping bombs, but everything in the air is gonna die. Now, I didn't say much about premium squads because most players won't buy them. Also, they're not that necessary. I personally wouldn't buy any premium squad, especially if you already buy the full access, because the full access is definitely much worth it and better. Also, premium squads always have the disadvantage of being power crept away. For example, every premium squad that is like older than 6 months usually will be way too weak, because you're gonna get 1 or 2 levels every 3 months addition to the game. So waiting for 6 months means 2 new squads at least who are increasing the power level. And this also means, for example, this 4-man medic squad, completely forget about it. 4 soldiers, no thanks. Let's take a look at this squad. This is a 5-man assaulter squad. Guess what? I'd rather have my 7-man assaulter squad. So yeah, that's not worth it. Now, with the recent high caliber update, you got the Dicker Max, the Thick Max. Well, what about this thing? It has the strongest cannon the Germans used, basically, and this cannon is as mighty as it looks like. Extremely strong, extremely high caliber. This thing really one-shots everything. There's literally no Russians, no Soviet tank in World War II that could survive this hit, even from 1 or 2 kilometers away. But it comes at a downside. The downside is, once again, it can't, since it doesn't have a real turret, it's also basically a self-propelled artillery. You can't aim that well, left and right. You don't have a machine gun. The armament is basically non-existent. Yet this looks very thick, and it's a little bit sloped, which is good. But it doesn't survive anything. So if you get shot, you instantly die. And let's not forget about the biggest weakness, and it's this here. Oh, it doesn't have a roof. Everyone is invited to throw Molotovs on your 5-person crew. So yeah, this thing is exactly as the Stug. It's not made for urban warfare. It's literally made for, well, staying 2-3 kilometers behind the front line and shooting from far away safely, not engaging enemies. Though if you want to have fun and one-shot everything the enemies give to you, this is the real tank for you. Also not that many rounds, so you won't be able to spam fire. The last level you unlock is a 8 centimeter mortar. Now what does this thing do? Very simple. It just destroys everything, because this is like the power level of one whole salvo of this is like one whole barrage of this is it's almost like an artillery strike. So once you just max up your mortar squad with 2 mortarmen and lots of ammo boxes, you can basically do like 5 or 6 artillery strikes equivalent with the firepower that you get out of this thing. Only disadvantage though, you need a perfect objective that's perfectly open in order to succeed with it. Now, if you like mortarmen, I don't recommend the first mortar squad you get early on, but this thing is absolutely worth it. This has so much firepower, it definitely does the work done. So yeah, that's it. That's all the levels in Stalingrad. Overall, my summary is the campaign is amazing, absolutely worth playing, and I guarantee you're gonna have as much fun playing it as I had in the last 2 weeks. So enjoy, and until next time.